Remember of my best memories as a kid till date is where we are sitting was a racetrack. This is where my uncle would practice, and he had a jump that was placed here. So my best memories from childhood that I remember was like I was maybe about 3 years, 4 years old,
Okay.
going into a track for a race where my uncle is racing his foreign bike.
Okay.
And since then, I think it has been in the family that we are hearing about events happening, racing happening. Like there are multiple people trying to tune my uncle's bike or my dad's bike. So it's been in the family since then. We are talking about 1988 is vaguely that I remember there was a foreign supercross race that happened in India. See, I mean, I love all sort of machines, and I love to experience the fun of each. Like each machines or each races are special in their own ways.
Okay.
And unless I've really experienced them, I won't know what am I really great at. I may be thinking dirt bike is my thing. Until recently I came across drifting was something that I can really relate to. And like I said, I was talking to you prior to before we began. And I'm really wanting to start my journey in rally. And something that I really connected because my dad's been rallying and he's really great at it. And I haven't even began my journey in it because I've never could gather that much money or time to dedicate for rallying. Till you're trying to work on the back end to make all of the things happen to enjoy certain sport. Do you really want to miss out on fun that these machines can give you out of small events that are happening around the community? So first, yes, I would have loved to stuck to one sport and probably grown the journey. But my relation with these machines, and I think I connect to each of them and their journey. Every machine has a different genre. And I have started enjoying all of it. And I think I didn't want to fear of missing out.
So thank you so much, Jeet, for pulling out time for this shoot. And I think it was a very recent thing for me when I came across your underground meet ka footage on Tapaswi Racing ka Instagram page. I'm like, yaar, is bande ko milna to padega. Somebody I truly felt when I saw that video that you're actually doing something to sort of, should I say, continue or rather grow or multiply the car culture and make people understand what car culture is actually about. But coming to that later, I would like to know something that intrigued me the most is the number of podiums you have behind your back.
So Aradhya, firstly, I think when I heard about you, when you happened to ping me, and I think I was also some point in time very struggling to understand if there's a platform for anybody who's a car enthusiast. And I think podcasting was a space that you've entered. And then I went through the profiles that a number of podcasts that you've done. It seems like I think this is genuinely something that was missing in the arena. Thank you for probably doing that. I think a lot of people look up, they don't get to meet people, they're aspiring people that they like to speak to. But I think this becomes a platform.
Of course.
So, and I think thank you for volunteering coming all the way from Delhi. And I think I would have loved for somebody who's as genuine as you to come over and probably have a look at my place and my babies as well around. So yes, I think thank you. Thank you. I think moving on to the second question, I think podiums.
Be honest.
I am surprised that you're surprised, but yeah, I mean, when I tell you these podiums are achieved over the matter of good 15, 18 years, then I don't think so it should surprise you. I mean, I have nothing else to do but to concentrate on motorsports. Maharashtra in general ran out of events. But on and off, in 18 years, there were just too many of them. To which I obviously could not move out of Maharashtra because of job commitment. But as and when there was an event, I would make myself available to ensure that I was there, showing up. It could be an autocross, could be a drag race. And luckily, we are blessed with sort of events happening around. Back in the days, some of them have really dried now. But back in the days that I remember, I was lucky to be available. And these events also to be happening around Maharashtra.
Okay.
So yes, I think for the love of the cars, and they were all there with me, and I had to just show up and the skills existed. And if somebody who's been constantly day in and day out watching cars, how to race them, how to go about tuning them,
हाँ.
so I think podium तो आना है. So मैं ये समझ रहा हूँ.
You've stuck around, man. I mean, if now I know that for the past, let's say 17, 18 years, बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो मोटर स्पोर्ट्स को इतने साल तक खींच देते हैं मेरे हिसाब से. And
यार मेरी जर्नी थोड़ी लेट शुरू हुई है. So I look, I mean, a little bit of background.
please, all yours.
So I remember of my best memories as a kid till date is where we are sitting was a racetrack. This is where my uncle would practice, and he had a jump that was placed here. So my best memories from childhood that I remember was like I was maybe about 3 years, 4 years old,
Okay.
going into a track for a race where my uncle is racing his foreign bike.
Okay.
And since then, I think it has been in the family that we are hearing about events happening, racing happening. Like there are multiple people trying to tune my uncle's bike or my dad's bike. So it's been in the family since then. We are talking about 1988 is vaguely that I remember there was a foreign supercross race that happened in India.
Okay.
Rather to your surprise, till date we've not had a foreign round that has happened for supercross in India. Back in the days, we had a whole foreign team with about 18 foreign Yamahas racing next door, like in Pune.
Oh, wow.
So imagine what was their generation, and I think that's where it all grew, like with uncles doing it, father doing it, and I think my father back in the days was also rallying in Himalayas. Like if you think of it now, it still gives us shiver. Imagine about 40 years back, what would it be? And if he was doing it then, I am not surprised it is sitting in the genes. So I would have liked my journey to start it a little early, but then life happened, the family ran into losses. So
okay.
the life took its own course.
Okay.
So I had to probably put my passion a little bit aside to focus on my career. I think you have to make a living before I choose my passion and give some stability on my personal side before I actually moved into my passion, which is racing. So I think the graph was still 17 years long, and I'm glad for that to be this long. And it looks like I'm just halfway there. I still have a lot to achieve and a lot to do from what I love.
Very interesting.
But yes, I think could have been a little earlier than started. But again, whatever I've achieved, I think happy with the journey that I've had so far.
Because I mean, damn good, yaar. And honestly, I've seen people like you just mentioned that you started late because of family commitments.
Correct.
And you just mentioned something about, family running into losses. And I mean, priorities are priorities.
Correct.
So many people lose heart at that very minute when things like this, like shit is happening in their life, and that is the time when they actually decide कि नहीं यार हो गया अब नहीं करना. But you actually, I think you.
Yeah, I think, like I mean, what you're saying, I can totally relate to it. I'm into service industry, come across a lot of friends who probably had the same journey, and I think मेरे लिए when you're running into bad times, should always fall back to your passion. See, that's your happy space. If you're stressed, go back to, so for me it is cars. I take a drive around or probably spend some time in the garage or go back to buy something for my cars. Probably done the job. My stress is slightly less. So I think, I think I have a crew of about decent 40, 80 people. I go back to work with them on the same lines. And I think that's where if everybody starts looking at their passion as something which is important, it'll not only grow as passion, but it'll also become your happy space, which is supposed to be. But we've learned with life, you generally just forgive your passions.
Interesting. So, coming back and getting a bit more into your trophies. So there I observed one more thing. So it's not just like कि आपने सिर्फ और सिर्फ rallies में trophy जीती है, सिर्फ autocross में trophy जीती है. Because this is something which I've been coming across in the past, let's say 1.5 years. I've been meeting people. There are people who have really mastered the art of autocrossing. Somebody has mastered drifting. Somebody has mastered rallying. Like I was telling you, I spoke with Sanjay Razdan.
Correct.
He's been a rally guy
Correct,
for the past
correct.
13, 14 years.
Yeah.
But आपके case में I've observed you've done drag racing, you've done dirt biking, competing also, I think
Competing
dirt
as
biking,
well.
you've
Yeah,
been
national
drifting, you've been rallying, you've been autocrossing. So what are you made of, man? I mean, honestly, not many people I've seen who I've come across who actually, dive into multiple kinds of motorsports and then actually bring trophies out of it.
So are there two primary reasons as such? See, I mean, I love all sort of machines, and I love to experience the fun of each. Like each machines or each races are special in their own ways.
Okay.
And unless I've really experienced them, I won't know what am I really great at. I may be thinking dirt bike was my thing. Until recently, I came across drifting was something that I can really relate to. And like I said, I was talking to you prior to before we began, and I'm really wanting to start my journey in rally, and something that I really connected because my dad's been rallying and he's really great at it, and I haven't even began my journey in it because I never could gather that much money or time to dedicate for rallying. But in the till you're trying to work on the back end to make all of the things happen to enjoy certain sport. Do you really want to miss out on fun that these machines can give you out of small events that are happening around the community? So first, yes, I would have loved to stuck to one sport and probably grown the journey. But my relation with these machines, and I think I connect to each of them and their journey. Every machine has a different genre, and I have started enjoying all of it. Like, and I think I didn't want to fear of missing out. Like, मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ rally. But what if that is something that I'll enjoy even more? Which I've only realized when I stepped into that shoes to understand, यार ये तो मजा अलग ही आ रहा है. Like we were dirt biking.
Yeah.
Until 3 years back, got a call from Rajputana Vijay Dada. He said we are trying to do a supermoto. हमने कभी सुना ही नहीं था supermoto इंडिया में भी हो सकता है.
Okay.
So we happened to build our machines as per supermoto.
What exactly is supermoto?
So supermotos, so dirt bikes that you see are turned into tarmac tires. Then you run these bikes on a tarmac. You slide your rears. There's a different mechanism in the way you enjoy these bikes.
Something like, for the purpose, I mean, just as an example, I think this particular bike by Ducati, the Hypermotard, is something like a supermoto.
That's a supermoto genre that you see.
Okay, understood.
So we built this bike. We changed the tires and suspensions. And I thought dirt biking was giving me a top, I mean the high that I would never get anything else. But supermoto, I flipped. These machines ran, we did an endurance of about 3 hours and we were racing full time. And it was a banger of an experience. Had I assumed this is not my sport, why am I even trying? I would have never experienced what it tasted like. And it blew my mind. Again, drifting, expensive sport, नहीं कर सकते आप इंडिया में. कहाँ से लाओगे ट्रैक, कैसे बिल्ड करोगे कार? Boy, now that I've busted 3 cars, come the journey, now my 5th car and 4th car, give me a time of my life. When you go sideways, it's a different experience. So had I assumed कि मैं सिर्फ autocross करना चाहता हूँ and I didn't want to taste this, believe me, I would have probably lived my life half. And there's so much more to experience. Like I could, in the initial bit of days when we started, we said 4x4s are the thing. 20 years back, we built our own cars. We raced locally, we won trophies. We went to Rainforest Challenge, which is an international competition. We didn't even sustain 3 days of the 10-day competition that they run. We built the car on the 4th year. And then about 2 years that we did that, we managed a trophy in diesel category. And then after 2 years that I said, yeah, doing the same thing, am I enjoying enough? So I dropped that thing off because the course was the same. The season was the same, the track was the same, so I wasn't really enjoying it. But I've done it for 7 years, enjoyed, have a fair amount of fun, and then I said I want to drop this for a while and probably experience something else.
RFC is expensive. RFC is quite expensive, I feel.
It wasn't until we started, somebody claimed there, bigger your winches, expensive your winches, and better your tires is the one who's going to manage the trophy. So ऐसा था कि we've all started 7 years back, we were all of the same category. But some people obviously had better skills and some people had a lot of money along with skills. We saw clear bifurcation of them winning than us. So if you were to be a winner, if you want to not take any chance, every year you got to order about 8 lakh rupees winches. Every year you got to order about 3 lakh rupees tires. That's how it got expensive beyond the course of time. So we built the car. Now my friend races, I don't enjoy that as much. I wanted to shift my thing and probably spend some years with drifting to see how can I take it forward. I am totally having a blast.
But you just mentioned something which I feel that you have a lot to say about it and you're just restricting yourself. You said, you made the statement that drifting, you feel that, you know, drifting is very, you are able to relate to drifting. Can you elaborate on that relate to drifting that you just mentioned?
I think we were in the preparations of Underground 7. And look, I mean, with Underground, we identify, and I think the purpose also of Underground is to connect with anybody who connects with the cars as much as I do. That's the community. It's not anything, no club, nothing. So that's how we found Sanam. He's wholeheartedly doing things, and it is so amazing to have somebody do drifting in India. That's where we invited him. He was kind enough to show up.
Okay.
And it was a day before the underground. We saw him doing his thing, doing his practicing run. I was like, Jeet, this is what you're seeing is in India at your hometown, which is in Pune. And that guy is your friend. How can you not be experiencing this sport when somebody's sitting with so much of a background drifting? So we've socialized our idea. He said it's possible. We worked through it. We went and got ourselves trained in Thailand. We've got some Thailand specialists here to build our cars. And look, I mean, while we had Sanam, we had the best of tuners from Thailand to come here, help us with everything, we busted 3 cars. No journey is going to be easy. But I said, yaar, try to karna padega because this looks so much fun. And I sat with him. I drove his car as well. Boss, if you're a car lover, if you sit in drifting and with Sanam, you cannot not think of doing drifting by yourself once in a lifetime before you show up on your grave. Itna maza aata hai. And I think I connected with it totally when I said, and I said, there is something for me. Ye mujhe maza zarur aayega. That's where our heart and soul was given. We had a whole season, about 2 years of testing and all of that. That's where now you tell me about a weekend and I show up with my 2 cars and we go about drifting with no damage done to the car at all.
But dude, one thing about, I mean, right, because you're talking about Sanam, I hope he watches this. So, I mean, one thing is definitely Sanam being a crazy drifter, and the other thing as an enthusiast you would love to experience is that bloody 2JZ engine under the bonnet. That sound.
Look, with Sanam, yeah, I mean, if you're a car enthusiast, Sanam will blow you with his talent that he has. And Sanam, if you're not watching this, you need to share a story about this podcast, and you better be doing that, and I'll ensure that happens.
I've been following up with him, but yeah, that's a different story altogether.
He's a busy man, but busy in the way I like it. Busy with all automotive stuff that he's been doing around.
Of course.
So, and I think you got to give it to the guy to put everything out there.
Yeah.
To build, probably ride an ATV like nobody does. Like you said, a 2JZ in a Lexus and run it flawlessly for years.
Yeah.
And to kind of acquire the kind of talent that he has.
Yeah.
You look at him in his Jeep, he's equally good.
Yeah.
You look at me, I mean, I've personally sat with him in Thailand rally with him.
Okay.
He's crazy. I think he's one who's gone all out with his intuitions. Like you and me would know, motorsport doesn't pay you.
Yeah.
And to still follow his passion to the level where it started paying him, it should tell you the story, how strong-headed the guy is behind his passion. And I think that's a lesson that every kid probably who's aspiring to be a car enthusiast or probably enjoys his passion should take it from him. He's been an inspiration to us in so many ways otherwise as well.
Of course. So, about motorsports once again, you just mentioned off camera that you are wanting to start rallying probably from Thailand. Let's say there's an event coming up that you mentioned that you want to start from. Why? I mean, what's your take on the Indian rallying scene?
I
mean, you know, like things like what I want to know from you is why not rallying in India? What do you think is lacking in rallying in India?
Look, I said, I know of my dad and a medal sits in my, like the prizes possession of me is a 1983 medal for my dad from a 1983 rally that he did, that to Himalayan rally. So, like I was very clear and my brother's been very supportive. All that you see here, I may be maintaining it, but all that money and all of that support that comes in from my brother. And he's equally crazy as motorsports, and I think a lot of my dirt biking skills comes from him as well. But yeah, coming back to the point, I always wanted to try my hands in rally because my dad connected with it so well. All my uncles that I knew were great drivers. So I think the skill lies in me. It's just the time that I explore. But like you said, why not Indian rally? It took me a while to gather that kind of money to kind of invest, and time again I said, to which I said, I mean, I want to start somehow next year. It's going to be still difficult. Am I ready? Maybe too early to even comment. But yes, I want to start irrespective next year. But why not India and then in Thailand? Look, I mean, I've compared both the worlds. India, it's a very south-heavy domain. I've had, just for the love of rally, I've had Chetan come and do a rally school in Pune. We've organized everything end to end. We've got a certification done from him. Then we went back to explore what all happens in Indian rally. I think with the spares not available easily, you need the best of the suspensions, you need the best of the cars, the tuners. And I think it's very south oriented. When I say south oriented, I don't want to be demeaning to anything. But you show up for a rally, they will probably have 2-3 service provided to you, but everything priority would also be given to the best driver or to the guy who's from south.
Okay.
Or it's very north oriented where you travel with your team. Logistically, or probably the way the sport is, I don't think so it's making a lot of sense.
Okay.
It's not making viable in terms of money. It's not making viable in terms of how the industry is oriented. Like it's bias. That may be a very strong word, but that's purely my observation. Like if I was trying to call up a team organizer saying, "Hey, I want to rally with you, share me a quote." Then I've learned from my friend who's racing for the same team. The money difference is huge.
Okay.
Priority given to him versus me would be very different. I've seen it happening to my friend, and I think India somewhere is it really very safe? Now that I've compared and seen Thailand rally for the last 2 years, it's definitely much more safer in Thailand than in India.
Okay.
The service team, they're all about to service you whatever you need, with whatever you need. The safety equipments to the best of technology in the cars. What I'm going to raise there, I don't see it coming into India in the next 6 years also. With the same amount of money, I'm racing with internationally, better equipment, better service team, and better drivers. Like I'm exposed to drivers from Australia, England. I see myself better presented there, and better to an exposure which is international. I think that's where my decision of starting my journey from Thailand and not in India.
Okay. So, I mean, there are a couple of events, like I also got to know from Sanjay Bhaiya only. We were just talking last week about it, like Sajoba, which is happening.
Correct.
So you could probably try your hands on that one. I mean, that's still something that I think you could start with.
Yeah, I think Sajoba I've heard great things about. A lot of legends have walked out of that event, learned and probably been champions. And I think it's not an easy one. It tests you to your full potential. But to be even present there, I have to either rent a car. And I've heard horrible stories about renting a car. It's completely busted car. You don't get the best of the cars.
Gypsy, how much does it cost?
Yeah, I mean, Gypsy I had myself that I built myself to race in the rallies. But then the Gypsy class eventually were not happening. That's where I possess the car. The seat that you see right now that we're sitting on is from my Gypsy.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think I built a complete Gypsy with a Baleno engine in it to race in the Gypsy category.
okay.
So unfortunately, during that time of the year, I think INRC stopped giving Gypsy class. So Joba you could race, Desert Storm you could race. Gypsy as a machine couldn't sustain the heat that a Desert Storm would offer. So every time I heard somebody going there, 2-3 days of running and then the engine would be busted. Sajoba, logistically, to get there for 2 days is to be very expensive.
Okay.
But now that Sanam is based out of Chandigarh, he is a local and service will not be an issue. I see myself racing Sajoba more often. That's something that I look forward to race and with some of the other, like I mean, it will be more likely a Polo, backed up by Sanam service team as well.
That is something, I think logistics is something that can be figured out. You just need to, I think now that you're right, you know Sanam, so the logistics
Look,
will
I
be
mean,
taken care
with the love of rally, that's the reason why you autocross as well. That's where I would look back at a lot of autocross that would happen from Maruti. They would run the national championship. I've participated in all their national championship in back-to-back 3 years. And local autocross races that Sportscraft would do. I would show up to understand where do I really stand with my skills and do I really have an appetite or am I ready to invest so much in my rally journey yet. So contemplating that versus now what I've learned from my friends around rally, put together I think it took some time, but I think I've finally made my decision that I want to start my journey from Thailand.
Interesting. So you were just mentioning about Maruti Suzuki and you know what they had done in the rally world for Desert Storm and Raid the Himalaya, but now I mean we just spoke about them pulling the plug from both these events. फिर इन लोगों ने autocross से भी हाथ खड़े कर लिए. So what do you think? How do you think that has impacted the whole automotive scene and the motorsports scene in India?
Look, as a manufacturer, and especially when you're a leading manufacturer in India, I think your presence is required across all sort of, you got to target the young, you got to target the family.
Yeah.
Look, I understand your cars are family oriented, but you cannot discount what they did for motorsports. Also made them one of the largest manufacturers in India. This has some bit of contribution to do anyways. That talk about how reliable their machines was. And apart from engaging a lot of young guys who are motorsports, that's a different story altogether. But we've seen a part of it through Tata. A lot of sponsorship that's going out as EXLSI into something is Formula 1, Formula 3, I think.
Oh,
And
they're
apart
doing
from
it?
that, yeah. Big time Tata is investing into motorsports, but unfortunately abroad as much. But they've really launched their Ultros as a racing edition. So I know there is somewhere an appetite to contribute to motorsport also. Because look, I mean, if you're talking about machines, ultimately these are your testing grounds. So there may not be a market, or this may not be helping Indian market to kind of grow. I think it's somewhere a wrong assumption. And but that also could be a bias me telling because I love motorsports. But it's a proven example across the, I mean, wherever you grow on the globe, a manufacturer who want to enter these spaces and try and prove their excellence, you know. And there is a reason why they compete at an international level, why manufacturers are there at a Formula 1, why manufacturers are at the MotoGP. There's a reason why they exist. That's how you record or make your mark in people's mind. And I think it may be a time where we don't see them, but trust you me, the world, the way we are heading, it's going to be manufacturers' world in the days to come, and they're going to be pretty much having their share in the motorsports as well.
Because पता नहीं, मेरे को तो कभी-कभी लगता है कि the way manufacturers support in other countries, they support motorsports. They are not doing anything in India. I mean, probably Mahindra is doing a little bit, and I mean by Mahindra Adventures, whatever they're doing, slight bit of off-road competitions. But other than that, like, I don't think people are pulling the plug only. And I strongly feel, and I completely agree to what you're saying, that they need to start supporting.
Correct. Look, I mean, while we are saying we don't see their presence as much, but to contrary, we've had KTM Racing India launching, doing their debut yesterday.
Okay.
Not heard of. We've had Maruti doing their Suzuki Jimny Cup, National Cup.
Okay.
They didn't venture into something like this earlier.
Okay.
We've had Porsche Taycan doing a record challenge in India, like a relay record.
Okay.
So somewhere they realize, and I think it's just about letting their hands a little more loose, because it's a dynamic market right now that we see. And I think that may be holding them. But I know later or sooner, they can't not have their presence in motorsports. Because Autocross was loved. It was an event which was enjoyed by families. Maruti Autocross National Championship was looked up by people across cities. Like, I've been a part of most of them, and they would do it right in the middle of the city. A stock car from the garage can come out and race in that competition. And people used to have a blast. And I don't see a reason why they would probably not want to venture something like that.
So now moving towards probably a bit more exciting part of the conversation is the underground scene that you're covering. What is it that you're trying to do by doing that?
Look, like I've literally been a off-roader. I've met some people there. I've done autocross. I've met some people there. Drag racing has been a very regular thing for us. Happens right here in Lonavala. So met a lot of community people there who loves to drag race. So kind of race into multiple journey. I understood there is people like me who love to maintain their car. It could be a race car, it could be just a genuine stock car, or it could be like, you know, a very offbeat vintage car.
Okay.
In my mind, I was like, okay, how about an idea bringing them all down in that one day of the year just to talk about their cars and just to celebrate their cars. That I think was the primary idea when I really thought about underground. And it happened at my property here. The first underground edition that you know happened right at my property. I was like, I've got to make this happen. I've probably ringed up all my friends that I know are some of the other way like their cars. They could be racers, they could be just maintaining their family cars. Some are just having vintage collections and all sort of other people. Some are just having a wild 4x4 truck.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, okay, where is that one place? What about I want to organize that and probably want to see that happening. And
so you have like different car categories under the same roof, is it?
Like if you're passionate about cars, it doesn't really matter. 800 or a 4x4 rig. Like I've had a caravan coming to underground. We still had a space. The idea is, are you able to relate to your machine and how strongly? If you're able to convince me about that, underground is yours. So look, I mean, I have been to Thailand and I was invited for their car shows.
Okay.
I've traveled to Australia for their work culture. Malaysia, I've been there because of various work purposes otherwise as well. They celebrate cars.
Okay.
They will probably bring it down to one such place where people talk about cars, learn about cars. Some people are getting inspired. Some people are getting better with what they need to know about mods. Some people are getting to know about better tuners. So put together, such places do a lot of good to the community is what I realized.
Okay.
So I said, might as well throw a party from my side. Let it not be a stress to people that I'm trying to seek anything.
Okay.
And that's where the edition 1 happened about 8 years back.
Okay.
So this is where I invited about 27 cars was what I remember the first one. That happened the first edition. To now about easily 200 cars that show up in an underground.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we've scaled and I think I didn't expect the response to be so amazing. That has totally surprised me.
Okay.
And I think was I just the medium and people were waiting for this to happen? In multiple years that I've done or scaled this up, crowd has only surprised me, the response has only surprised me. Now people recognize me as somebody who does underground. And I can't believe, like then I think of myself as was I really late in the journey to have even started this? I've met such wonderful people. I've had my idols showing up on this platform. And imagine somebody whom you've watched it in the TV, watched him race and says, hey, when are you doing underground? I want to show up the next time.
Like who all? Can you talk about a few of them?
One such was Imran that I know. He's built some amazing cars. He's been racing, started his journey with Volkswagen Polo. Now he loves to come for an underground. We've had all my brother's friends who were an idol to me when they were building cars. They had the cars running NOS when I was like in standard 12. And that's how, see, I mean, all of this has like got me more into cars.
Okay.
And they're the ones who are more excited. They're leading the show. Like my brother himself is when he bought an Evo, like I have an Evo 10.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean while he's a car guy and he said, boss, okay, you relate very strongly to Fast and Furious. We're doing underground and I have a surprise for you. And that's where an Evo was shown to me. I tripped. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know this was coming. I was like, Paul Walker and an Evo is what I thought I strongly related to. And I have something that I can call mine. It's one of the prizest possession bought by somebody who means so much to me, which is my brother.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean, in multiple such occasions that I've had, like Sanam is one such person. Admire for whatever he does and says, I probably ring him up on the 7th edition saying, do you think you'd want to make it? Pretty happy to kind of show up. Many such people, like I know somebody who's based out of Kerala. I know him only through cars.
Okay.
Happy to send him an invite and he shows up all the time. His name is Danish. He's a very close friend now. So all these people have now, from somebody whom I knew through mediums like social media, gone back to become friends and now turning into family.
Danish,
Just about.
is it the same Danish who's into auto parts, aftermarket parts dealer or something?
Not really, but he's heavily into modified cars.
Okay, probably that's a different Danish.
Yeah, he has some crazy collections.
Understood.
He does it himself. He's a viral sort of a guy in Kerala again.
Okay.
Kerala, you know how the market is. Not everybody gets that much of love and affection. He got it, and for clear reasons. So, like I'm talking about such people whom I thought were very much thinking alike me when it comes to cars and machines, and now they show up, and now we are like more than friends. So, what else could I have asked from an underground perspective? But what I started to what it is right now, it's a family meet that happens once in a year. Unknown place, unknown location, and nobody else would enter it unless you're a real genuine car guy.
Any particular events or gatherings or automotive gatherings or meets that you attended in other countries that actually, you know, that you feel that really inspired you कि यार ये चीज़ इंडिया में लेके आनी है?
Look, I mean, Thailand, we were visiting Thailand to bring our off-road stuff for RFC too many times. There will always be a trip before the RFC to go and get stuff from Thailand because first you'll only get it there. If you get it in India, it wasn't really of great quality or very expensive. So, car culture out there is very underrated. People don't know, but underground car culture is very rich. We got luckily invited for a few of them. It will blow your mind. And some of them are probably going to be visiting us during this underground. Been to Australia, the car culture there, underground there is insane. And
Really?
I think Malaysia, we don't know the country for cars, but if I were to talk to me, while yes, tourism is there, they're good in their GDPs, commercially viable, but car culture there is as rich as like that is probably making them contributing to, if not the top to the third most contributing to the GDP would be the cars. That's how the car culture really runs.
Of course.
So many more passionate people. Now that we've ventured into something called as Titan suspensions, they are a very specialist when it comes to suspensions, and they are most. If a showroom suspension is costing you 1 lakh, a Titan suspension will cost you at least 50% cheaper, and can have multiple modes to work with.
Okay.
In India, primary reasons why the cars die, the top of the line cars die, is because the suspensions are so expensive. So we've really had Titan suspension visiting us in India to what we do. Now they want to venture in India as business. So
Okay.
imagine you are a car lover.
Yeah.
You have Titan suspension which is half the price of the market. Why would you not want to opt for it? How much good would it do to a car enthusiast who says, hey, listen, I've got an upgrade. So if you know of somebody who's doing autocross
Yeah.
or doing an off-road, first thing they'll talk about, boss, I need a better suspensions. With Titan suspension, it's a one-stop shop. They'll take care of everything for us.
And
at
you're
half the
saying that
cost.
Titan suspension is going to be a bit cheaper than factory suspension.
50% cheaper.
Oh.
Never. It literally blew me off. We visited them. We learned about amount of suspension that they have in all their cars.
Where are they based out of again?
It's a Malaysian company.
Malaysian company. Okay.
So they start the suspension from Ferrari all the way to, you talk about your Suzuki's and all manufacturers you name. They have a suspension place off the shelf available.
Malaysia is really up in the game because I remember, I don't know if you've seen it, I had a conversation with Karan,
Okay.
Karan Malik, the K24
Yeah,
Honda
yeah,
Jazz.
yeah, of course.
So I got to know through him only about this company called F-Tune suspension.
Right.
And I think after, I think he also got inspired by somebody and then only he used that suspension. He's like super impressed by it. And
Correct.
then after him, I think many people have gone towards F-Tune.
Yeah, I mean, see, these, unless they are a big manufacturer, we wouldn't know about them.
Huh.
So we happen to be there to learn about them and probably do testing. Like that's how we learned about EVC. So EVC is from Australia, a big brand called Ultimate 9. We were in Australia, somebody offered us this product.
EVC is brakes, right?
It's throttle controller.
Okay. Okay.
Aradhya, I gotta tell you, it's the most simplest mod which you get into your car and probably enhance the performance, the social security of the car, and change your car in so many other ways.
Social security as in?
Like, if I have an EVC in my car is not it's 30% more punchier.
Okay.
It is giving me a better mileage.
Okay.
If a chauffeur is driving my car, I lock my speed at 30. He cannot move the car beyond 30. If I have to I'm running in city, I switch my mode at a switch of a button. I'm talking about cars like Maruti and all, we've not heard about these features, which is available on your mobile. That's what an EVC does. It's a small device. Doesn't play with your warranty, nothing at all. It's a throttle controller which gets plugged right above your throttle pedal.
Okay.
And it does wonderful. We've launched it in a very grand style. We tested it for 2 years before we announced it publicly that we are selling this. My brother is into throttle controllers, and we don't promote it.
Okay.
We are already about 700 units out in the market.
Okay.
It's just through word of mouth.
Okay. Okay.
And
Is it something like that wind booster thing that's going on?
Wind
these
booster
days?
is more of a Chinese genre. This is Ultimate 9, manufactured by an Australian, lifetime warranty.
Oh.
The way the product is being sold, if Aradhya takes it, 3 months use the product, return it back to us, you'll get 100% money back warranty.
But tell me one thing, yeah. I mean, you would be a way more experienced person to understand these kind of things from. Is that ठीक है उस particular चीज़ के ऊपर throttle controller you said right?
Correct.
उसके ऊपर तो warranty होगी. But what about is there any potential damage it can do to your machine?
100% guarantee your warranty of your car stays intact. Something as small as that device sits on your throttle pedal.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do anything to do with your ECM, mechanics or otherwise anything.
Okay.
But in my mind, it took me a year to get convinced कि इतनी छोटी सी डिवाइस इतना सब कुछ चेंज कर सकती है. Why is company probably holding this?
Okay.
So, but yes, they have the certain norms to play around with. That's the reason why a throttle controller makes so much of a difference. Like a wind booster, you may have heard, multiply the effects by 70%.
Okay.
security wise, like you're sitting in the car, somebody's moving a car when you're not allowed. That happens just with a small device in the mobile button that you can click. Car secured, safety, better mileage, you're tracking what speed, you're tracking where you're stopping and all of that with a small device.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
leave everything apart. I think the response that you get, which I think is a basic problem with all Indian cars. The initial response, as soon as you start your car in the first gear, when you pedal it out, that's where I think my money on throttle controller is.
Okay.
EVC makes world of a difference. Isuzus are not known. It's a farmer's car, but you got to drive Isuzu without an EVC and with an EVC.
Okay.
I kid you not, you will not touch the Isuzu. We have 11 Isuzus in my group. You will not touch the Isuzu without a throttle control.